Strong as Steel by Suzanne Sherman. This is a nonfiction book with the essential question, what is steel and how is it used? Presented in 6 chapters. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Steel, the Marvelous Metal. What do the Golden Gate Bridge, Eiffel Tower, Chrysler Building, Willis Tower, Brooklyn Bridge, and Gateway Arch in St. Louis have in common? Tons and tons of steel. Each of these famous landmarks is made of steel. These structures highlight the strength, design flexibility, and endurance of this marvelous metal. Strong and low cost, steel can withstand heat and cold. As a result, steel is used in houses, buildings, and bridges all over the world. It is used to make cars, trucks, trains, rails, tools, and machines too. Tin cans are really made of steel. The steel used to construct the Golden Gate Bridge was manufactured in New Jersey, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. Loaded onto railroad cars, the steel was taken to Philadelphia and then shipped through the Panama Canal to San Francisco. Steel facts. Steel bridges are 4 to 8 times lighter than those built from concrete. The Golden Gate Bridge required 83,000 tons of steel when it was built in 1937. Half that amount would be required today. Steel changed the world. Before the late 1800s, buildings could not be made taller than about 10 stories. Steel can support much more weight than stone and brick. As a result, steel changed how buildings could be made. With steel, buildings can get taller without getting wider. This saves space in crowded cities. Further, steel resists damage from wind and earthquakes. As you can see, our world is shaped by steel. The Empire State Building in New York was completed in 1931. It has 102 floors and soars 443.2 meters, 1,454 feet into the air. Steel made it possible to build the Empire State Building. Chapter 2. The Building Blocks of Steel. Iron, dug from the earth, is the basis of steel. The iron is found in rocks called iron ore. After the iron ore is mined, it has to be processed before it can be made into steel. Steel was first used for skyscrapers in 1884 to build the Home Insurance Building in Chicago. Can you imagine how different a city looked before steel was used? Iron ore. Although iron is the 4th most common mineral on Earth, it must be purified. This is because it contains other substances as well. Iron ore also contains silica, phosphorus, and sulfur. Since these substances weaken the iron, they are removed. The result? Steel. Steel is much stronger than iron. However, steel always has some carbon mixed in. That makes steel a special kind of mixture called a solution. A solution is a mixture of substances that are blended so completely that the mixture looks the same everywhere. Iron ore is mined around the world. Some of these places include Minnesota and Michigan in the U.S. Iron is also mined in Canada and northern Sweden. Brazil is another big source of iron, as is Australia. The color of iron ore varies depending on its impurities, the other elements it contains. 98% of the iron ore that is mined is used to make steel. Chapter 3. How steel is made. So how is the iron refined to make steel? There are different techniques. In a method called smelting, the iron is put into huge furnaces which can be heated to around 870 degrees Celsius or 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit. The extreme heat changes the matter into its molten state. The unwanted elements float out of the boiling liquid iron. Evidence exists to show that as early as 2500 BC, blacksmiths in the Middle East were smelting iron. However, more than 1,000 years would pass before iron became the most important metal in the area. In the 1800s, Henry Bessemer invented a new method of purifying iron to make steel, called the Bessemer process. Air is blown through molten iron, causing the unwanted substances to undergo chemical reactions with the oxygen in the air. The Bessemer process produced large amounts of steel. It was used to make railroad tracks, trains, and ships, which helped open up major transportation routes. By 1900, the open hearth method replaced the Bessemer method. Using recycled steel, the open hearth method costs less and produced even more steel. As a result, very large projects such as bridges and skyscrapers became more affordable. Steel has been produced in the United States for more than 100 years. This drawing shows a steel mill in 1876. Then steel plants were hot, loud, and dangerous. In some steel mills, people worked 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Accidents were common. Today, making steel is safer and more efficient. Today, steel is made using oxygen furnaces. To rid the iron of impurities, pure oxygen is blown through the molten iron. Chemicals are added to further clean the steel. Since iron has a very high melting point, large furnaces are needed. Chapter 4. Making steel meet our needs. As a metal, iron has properties. This means it has specific qualities. For example, iron is shiny and can conduct electricity. Iron is also hard, magnetic, and can rust. People can change a material like steel by changing its properties to make it meet our needs. Because of its useful properties, about 6.4 million tons of structural steel was used in the U.S. in 2012 alone. That is over 40 pounds of structural steel for each person living in America. Once iron is smelted and purified, other substances can be added. A metal mixed with one or more other metals is called an alloy. Which metals are added and in what amounts depends on the properties the manufacturer wants the steel to have. Creating alloys allows steel to be made as much as 1,000 times stronger than iron. The impurities in steel make it less magnetic than iron. The stainless steel used to make some refrigerators is hardly magnetic. Rust forms when iron chemically reacts with oxygen in the presence of water. This affects how long metal lasts. However, steel can be made less likely to corrode or rust than iron. The exact properties of steel depend on the alloy. Steel is hard, is tough so it can withstand sudden shocks without breaking, has excellent compressive strength, keeping its shape even under great pressure. Some steel alloys are malleable or bendable. Has great tensile strength so it can be pulled without breaking. Some alloys are more ductile. They can be stretched more easily. Has good thermal conductivity and transfers heat easily. Corrodes, but some alloys can be made to resist corrosion. What does this picture show about the effects of corrosion on a metal object such as a bicycle? Chapter 5. Steel in Society. A beverage company wants to make cans. A craft company wants to make scissors. Which alloy of steel should each use? There are more than 3,500 different types of steel, and each is a slightly different alloy of iron with different properties and uses. The steel in a can is very thin, which makes it light and crushable. The steel in scissors, in contrast, has almost 20 times more carbon than the steel in a beverage can, so scissors are hard and strong. Have you ever touched a seatbelt buckle inside a hot car? Ouch! The steel buckle is hot because steel is a good thermal conductor. Steel facts. Because steel and iron expand when heated, the Eiffel Tower is about 6 inches taller in the summer than it is in the winter. Steel never loses its properties. Steel can be recycled again and again to make different products. Most cans are made of recycled steel, which is just as strong as newly made steel. Knives, spoons, forks, pans, and sinks are often made of stainless steel because it is strong and does not rust. Stainless steel is used in construction and transportation. Jackhammer bits are made with steel that can withstand extremely high heat. Galvanized steel, steel coated with zinc, is often used in products that are exposed to water. Can you guess why? Pails and gutters come in galvanized steel. It is also used to make rust-proof nails, wire, and appliances. Nickel and manganese are added to create high tensile steel, which is very strong. It is often used in container ships to help them carry tons of cargo. Tungsten and vanadium are added to create high-speed steel, which can withstand very high heat. It is good for drill bits, which heat up as they spin, but must stay sharp. Chromium is added to stainless steel to make it shiny. Chapter 6. Steel gets the work done. Strong and inexpensive, steel can stand up to heat and cold. As a result, steel is used around the globe in homes, buildings, and bridges. Steel is in vehicles, tools, and machines, too. Scientists are working on new types of steel with new properties. Engineers design new products to make the best use of these properties. What's next for steel? Cities in space, robots with bendable limbs? With steel's great strength and usefulness, there is no limit. Steel fact: engineers have discovered a way to make steel both strong and ductile. They achieve this by twisting the steel. Who knows? Maybe future robots will be made of a strong but bendable steel like this. At 839 meters, which is 2,722 feet, Burj Khalifa in Dubai shows what steel can do.